Hello and welcome to Confused Reviews, where Cartoon Drawing reviews movies, and isn't it fascinating when a movie sequel has the series do a complete 180 and attempt to change what came before it? Fast 5 turning a simple street race story into an action-packed heist series, Halloween 3 replacing a masked killer for a different scary Halloween-based tale, and oddest of them all, the dictionary definition of batshit and bizarre, Bride of Chucky. Child's Play 3 wasn't all that loved by audiences, critics, or the box office, so Chucky had to hang up his tiny overalls for 7 years until finally getting another movie. But this fourth installment shows the same post-Scream shenanigans so many 90s horror movies gave us, being it replaces subtle moments of suspense for loud explosions, ramps up the self-aware humor to a level Deadpool wouldn't touch, and gives the Chuckster a wife, because Frankenstein. It's also a very polarizing movie to a lot of people. Some love it for doing something different, and some think it's the dumbest thing to ever happen to horror since Michael Myers being part of a cult. So let's jump right into the movie that forever ditches the Child's Play name and see if making a doll get married was a good idea. This is Bride of Chucky. So the film begins at your classic evidence depository where we see the weapons and masks of slasher alumni, because Scream. A shady officer swipes a hefty bag and speeds through the night, only to get his throat slit. The killer in question is a gimp cosplaying Jennifer Tilly, who plays Tiffany. But who gathered up his remains after they were shredded in Child's Play 3? It forever remains unclear. She appears to live in Blade's wet dream and is rebuilding Chucky like a student finishing a project 5 minutes before it's due, and we bounce over to David, played by Gordon Michael Wolvett, who rolls up to Chief Warren's crib, played by John Ritter, and manages to be
figure skating.
Very awkward. Jane, played by Katherine Heigl, swoops downstairs and gets out of there faster than Peter Parker in Homecoming, and while driving off, we find out that David was just the classic gay decoy, I guess, as Jesse, played by Nick Stabile, pops out of the back seat. What? Anyways, a bolt of lightning transitions us back to Tiffany's trailer as she's doing a little reading. Do they make a For Dummies book about everything? Oh shit, get that out of here. I haven't read that in weeks. She pops down our hand-me-down dolly, and after spouting a chant,
awake!
Uses the beat it till it works method to no avail. Damien, played by Alexis Arquette, shows up and shows off a Tom Savini-level makeup job, and we see that the Chuckster has moved, guaranteeing he'll be back to killing very shortly. It has been a whopping 12 minutes after all. He pops up next to them, and Bones here makes fun of the fun-sized ginger.
He's so 80s.
No,
He's
he's
even
not.
scary.
Well, if we want to get technical, there was and continues to be more Chucky movies released in the 90s than in the 80s. 3-1 to be exact. Just saying. Tiff then handcuffs Omen Boy while teasing the both of them, and after the little redheads had enough of Damien's angst, he turns his head around Exorcist style and...
It ain't the size that counts, asshole. It's what you do with it.
Immediately follows up a scary moment with a terrible joke. Get used to that. He then rips out the guy's lip ring and simultaneously makes Hot Topic's stock plummet and decides to smother the bastard. Wow, this is now 2 movies starring Brad Dourif where someone gets smothered with a pillow. Huh. Back with our definitive Romeo and Juliet story.
You fuck. But you won't.
We get some dialogue and performances that makes Jersey Shore sound like The Sopranos, and we see Chuck and Tiff making dinner.
What the?
You've been meatballed.
Oh,
Are you ready for some meatball?
oh man.
Oh, and I have a question for you, Mr. Lee Ray. Is this movie or the next going to be good, like, at all?
What are you, fucking nuts?
At least you're being honest. The next day, we have a mostly pointless scene of Tiff trying to flirt with Jesse, but it's about as interesting as a rice cake, so let's just move on. Night rolls around again as Samantha Cole is taking a bath while watching Bride of Frankenstein. Get it? When Chucky pops in to, well, get kicked away. You know, I'm surprised more people don't do that to him in these movies. So he just drops her TV into the tub and turns her into Electro's fantasy. I'm shocked they killed her off so early in the movie. I'll show myself out. And after a colossal 32 minutes, the movie's title is finally underway, as Tiff is now reborn into a doll body. And, well, now that they're both 2-foot-tall hell demons, get ready for a lot of jokes like this.
I wouldn't marry you if you had the body of G.I. Joe.
Eric Foreman would disagree.
Would you do it for a 1968 G.I. Joe Desert Rat edition with the original mess kit?
Please. I have 3 of those.
Strongly disagree.
The French version?
G.I. Jacques.
We then waste no time before slipping in another doll reference.
Hey, Raggedy Ann, you looked in the mirror lately?
You're really stripping down my joke possibilities here, movie. Soon I'll only be able to reference Pinocchio's Revenge, and no one wants that. Chuck then explains how they're going to transfer their souls into human bodies. They need this stupid amulet that apparently is the only way to do the conversion.
I was wearing it around my neck the night those bastards gunned me down. It was buried with my corpse.
No, it wasn't. And even if it was, where was it for the first 3 movies? No wonder the chant did fuck all for all those years. But then again, Tiffany was just brought back without it, so this shit makes no sense either way. Tiff then makes herself the poster child for bad parenting, and
Barbie, eat your heart out.
just can't help herself, and Jesse scoops the two up and out. He rolls to Jade's place in Spicoli's van, and they're just the worst. Thankfully, the chief returns, hoping to plant a little evidence, and does the classic airbag nails to face kill, which is neat and one positive thing thus far, but it does remind me of someone. Huh. Any guesses? That's right, Jim Carrey in The Incredible Burt Wonderstone. What? They somehow clean up the mess in less time than it takes to tie your shoes, and the lovebirds are stopped once again by Humpty Dumpty here. This guy's shit-eating grin is so distracting, I almost glanced over the fact that this movie has a kid's toy smoking a doobie. So, that's something. Chucky's as sick of this douche as I am, so he takes a play out of Anton Chigurh's handbook and blows the guy up. Too bad these shots of Chucky in motion looks as bad as Freddy with the power glove. Back with the plot, turns out they're being said to be a modern Bonnie and Clyde, as the 3 previous kills are being pointed directly at them, but decide to go get hitched anyways, and it looks very classy.
I get married in the chapel, oh love?
Even that looks better. I'd even settle for the Hangover one. Chief Wiggum here then comes back to life for some reason, and Chucky does the classic slasher trope of stabbing the absolute fuck out of him.
A true classic. Never goes out of style.
But does eventually scrape the bottom of the barrel for new ideas. Jade and Jesse wind up in the same motel Harry and Lloyd stayed in, and a random couple just kinda shows up in this movie. Not sure why. This movie honestly makes me feel like I'm stuck in the sunken place. These second-string swingers are Russ and Diane, played by James Gallanders and Jeanette Kidder, who propose an orgy while simultaneously swiping their valuables? Weird. The thieves leave and immediately get to boning, only for Tiffany to show up and be seen in the ceiling's mirror. Not sure why the room is equipped with that, but does lead to a clip art champagne bottle smashing the CGI mirror and allowing the shards to kill the two. Give it time, Chuckster. Your series will eventually kill someone with falling shards and make it really cool. Eventually. And, we get into what is quite possibly the grossest thing to ever happen ever. Chucky and Tiffany start doing it. Now, as much as I'd like to pack it up and run as far away from it as possible, I kinda gotta give this movie props. It's so batshit and bizarre, and the fact that it exists at all is kinda noteworthy. Also, it makes the sex scene in Team America look sophisticated, because this is just nasty. The maid finds the 2 corpses, leading to J&J to get the fuck out of there with David, who just kinda shows up out of nowhere. He does find some Minute Maid on the floor, as well as Paul Blart's body. Ooh, maybe this will lead to a tension-filled scene of David nervously asking them about the murders, or, oh wait, he just pulls out a Glock and Chuck and Tiff reveal themselves and David gets obliterated by a semi-truck. Okay. Jesse asks how exactly we got here, and well, of course, they gotta be meta.
So how did you end up like this?
Well, it's a long story. In fact, if it was a movie, it would take 3 or 4 sequels just to do it justice.
And we hear from some bimbo on the radio that Charles Lee Ray's body will be dug up from the cemetery sometime today, because we gotta speed up this plot since it's almost over. We also see some random old couple was butchered solely for a throwaway gag, because funny? You see, in a good movie like Halloween, an off-screen kill can be used to show not only how a character is getting from point A to point B without detection, but to show off the sheer force of the killer. But this is just stupid. After a moment of domestic bliss, Tiff gets kicked into the oven and Chucky thrown out the window, and they drive off the road like an episode of the Dukes of Hazzard. The wrecked RV now contains a burnt-to-shit Tiffany, sparked wires, and leaking tubes of, gas? I'm not sure why it'd be inside the vehicle after a rather minor crash, but whatever. Their ride explodes and a scene ripped straight out of Last Action Hero, and our well-done antagonist is brought along with Jesse to the finale, as Jade is digging up Charles' body, with Chucky still holding her hostage. Only to see that he now looks like Marv when he gets electrocuted, but yeah, the amulet MacGuffin is found, yada yada yada, the hostages are exchanged, Chucky pulls a Lee Christmas, and immediately gets the knife back. What was the point of throwing it then? No idea. Anyways, after one more doll kiss that would surely make Sid wet himself in terror, Tiff literally stabs Chucky in the back, because the only way to have this movie end is to have her go back on what she's been going for practically the whole movie, because, let's face it, these two idiots wouldn't be able to stop him. But he's not dead, and the two have a Star Wars-esque battle with shovels until Chuck goes full Ben Solo.
Thank you.
And she bites the big one. For now. And Chucky, well, watch. Okay, one more Back to the Future 2 joke just for the fun of it. Just feels right.
Go ahead and shoot. I'll be back. I always come back.
Unless you make a movie where you have a weird gender-confused doll child, then you go MIA for 9 years. Justifiably. So to wrap this shit up, Jade pops a few holes in the little ginger bitch, and they're omitted from the suspect list for all the murders. Yay, I was so concerned. Oh, and a charred Tiffany resurrects only to spit out a baby doll. A fucking baby.
What the fuck?
That's right, they did it like 14 hours ago, and now there's a baby. K. And that was Bride of Chucky, and it's something alright. Before we dive bomb into the stuff I hate, let's talk about some good. I think Jennifer Tilly is solid here, and Tiffany's character is the best thing to come out of this movie. Giving Chucky a partner to bounce off of is a welcomed addition in my book. Most of the animatronic and puppeteering work is also pretty well done, and Brad Dourif's angry shouting is also spot on here. But this movie is just annoying. Our two lead human characters are quite possibly the worst romantic duo in any movie ever. Their performances are shit, dialogue is generic lovey-dovey garbage, and the two are just kinda sidelined for 90% of it. They're so fucking pointless, I wish Chuck and Tiff would have left them in the RV closet instead. I guarantee that old couple would have offered more to the story. Since it came out in a post-Scream era, there's a bunch of self-referential humor, mocking of the genre as a whole, and Chucky has turned into a one-note joke who's just an asshole. Sure, he is a serial killer, but now that he's the lead of the story, he shouldn't be treating Tiff like shit the entire movie. Makes me not all that upset when he bites it in the end. And the thing I honestly hate most about this movie is Chucky's design. I know a lot of people like this look for him, but to me there's just something off about him. Maybe it's this weird eye design, frizzy hair or whatever, but I don't like looking at this version of Chucky. He looks really fucking cool at the end of Child's Play 3, and we ended up getting this. What a fucking letdown. He looks like the concept art was drawn with a goddamn crayon. And piggybacking off that point, this movie is not scary in the slightest. The OG Child's Play trilogy did have a decreasing amount of subtle scary moments, sure, but even the weakest entry still had a handful of scenes I find myself genuinely enjoying. Here, I just wish the loud noises, corny one-liners, and dumb characters would just stop. All in all, I don't hate this movie per se. It's definitely not terrible, but I wouldn't say it's that good either. It's got one neat death, a cool new character, and another moment of Chucky flipping the bird to add to the collection, but is otherwise boring, not funny or scary, and isn't a movie I would recommend to anyone or have the inclination to watch anytime soon. It's just kind of bland and uninteresting, and certainly on the lesser half of Chuck's ever-growing franchise. I'm going to give Bride of Chucky a D, because a few things I like is weighed down heavily by worthless characters, dated jokes, and an ending that leaves you more frustrated than satisfied. If you're in the mood for a good killer doll flick, rewatch the first or second movie. I'm Confused Reviews. Thanks for watching.